Well, hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Photoshop User TV. We are brought to you by Kelby One, who bring you, among so many other things, Photoshop User Magazine right there. There it is. We enjoy it, you'll enjoy it, we all have a good time with it. Hi everyone, welcome back. I am Corey Barker, one of the Photoshop guys here on Photoshop User TV, and I'm joined today by another Photoshop guy. You all know him as Pete Collins. Pete, how are you?
Hey Corey, I'm doing all right.
How's it
It's good?
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm just back from vacation, went up to Alaska.
You did go to Alaska, yeah.
So I'm slightly refreshed and ready to
And I'm sure you're going to be seeing a
dazzle.
lot of Pete's images that he shot while in Alaska. He's got a lot of great wildlife stuff out there. He did some really, really cool stuff while he was out there.
Yep.
But we have got something special in today's episodes. Wes Maggio, Wacom Technologies, is joining us. He's going to be talking about a few things with the tablet and some other stuff like that. And he'll be along in just a few minutes. But first, Pete and I are going to have to share a little quick tip because that's why we're here, to bring you cool tips. So Pete, go ahead and kick it off. What do you got there?
All right, well this is real quick and real simple. If you do composites or any type of thing, a lot of times you're going to want to come in and you're going to want to adjust something. Like I added these tentacles to this robot that I was working on for the Pixel Fight Club, which is composite challenge over at the Kelby One member website. And the thing is, I want to change the look of it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to click on the adjustment layers and I'm going to choose hue and saturation. And the thing is, if I start now changing the hue and saturation of this, you can't really tell because most of it's gray, but you can see in the eyeball area, it's changing that as well. By simply coming down here and clicking on this icon, what that's going to do is clip this adjustment just to the layer beneath it. Now as I make any of these changes, it's simply going to affect that layer there and not everything else beneath it. And it's a real simple thing, but a lot of times we forget about that, and so we don't use the adjustment layers because we'd have to mask out everything else. If we can just remember to clip it in there, if I don't want to clip it, I can just clip it out, or if I want to use the keyboard shortcut of Alt or Option, I just simply do that. And now it's a free adjustment layer that's affecting everything beneath it. Hold down Alt or Option, I clip it to just that layer, and now I can go back in, and the reason why you like to do it with adjustment layers is so that you can come back in and adjust those at any time. They're all sitting right there editable. No matter what happens, somebody changes their mind, says do something different, you've got it right there. So just remember that you can take an adjustment layer, you can clip it to the layer beneath it, and it's only going to affect that layer. And it's really helpful for when you're putting elements together.
Nice. Layers to save the day. All right, continuing on, we're going to do a marathon here. It's a two-person marathon. I got a quick one. That's actually kind of a fun one. If you see on my screen here, I was having a little fun with an image I shot on my iPhone. I was driving across the Howard Franklin Bridge, and I just got this shot. I don't know why I took the picture, but I was thinking, you know what? It's time to make it a Michael Bay moment. So I put this explosion in there, was having some fun. These are actually, these two cars right here, they're not actually colliding as you might expect. Those are actually two 3D models I actually brought in here and actually manipulated their positioning. But what I wanted to show you was the fire explosion and everything like that was simply taken from a stock image right here. And this is why I wanted to show you why the quick selection tool combined with Refine Edge is one of the best selection scenarios in Photoshop. Because if I wanted to grab a quick design element, you can do it quickly and easily with, this way. So just simply grab that quick selection tool and just go and paint over the area you want selected. And let's getting all the fire elements here, and because it selects by range, as you paint over an area, it gets it. Now, obviously, you got a little bit more sky over here, so if you hold down the Option key and drag over it, it will go ahead and remove that. And this is a smart feature. It tends to remember areas it might have selected, and then when you go back over them, it's saying, hey, you didn't want that selection, I'm going to go ahead and just take that away. So it's really smart about that.
It's almost a learning tool.
Exactly. So I get the rest of that. I'm simply going to go to Refine Edge. Now, this is where Refine Edge really is helpful because I'm going to use the Refine Radius tool here and just go around the edge very lightly. Now, it might tend to show some transparency in the smoke air. That's perfect because there would be. On the edges of smoke like that, you would tend to see a little transparency because it's going to be thinner on the edges and it would be thicker. So that actually gives it a more natural look to it. So I'm just doing this really, really quick. And just like that. And now we've got pretty well extracted explosion. So let's bring it back as a selection. copy it to a new layer, and there it is, nicely extracted, and nice soft edges and everything like that. That's quick and easily, and this is a tool that's really made it easier to be able to composite these things really, really quick. Now, one last thing I wanted to show. This is a little thing I think that people tend to forget you can do, is make gradient selections in Photoshop. It's not an obvious thing, but it is a very helpful thing. So if I wanted to darken this sky a little bit, and I wanted to get more of a gradient selection, simply go and get your gradient tool, and I'm going to make sure I'm using foreground to transparent here, and set the foreground color to black. Then you're going to press the Q key. Simply put it in quick mask mode, and then just drag a gradient down like you would normally. Make sure I'm using the linear gradient. Now your gradient overlay is going to have that kind of orange ruby lift look to it, just to indicate where it is. And then when you press Q again, now it's selected. But you'll see the little marching outline. That's not necessarily indicating the edge of the selection. Because if I just Command J the selected area to a new layer, see that nice faded selection I got? And then if I just change this to something like multiply, I get a little bit more dramatic sky in there, and I've got a very nice fade going on there. So you might think, well, I have to make the gradient, then make it a selection, and then select the layer and everything like that. You don't have to do that. Use quick mask mode, and you can brush your selections. You can even do gradient selections on them pretty quickly. So I'll finish this up and post it later so you can see the final action sequence in its full glory. So cool.
It's pretty nice.
I like it. All right, let's do this. Why don't we take a quick break? But yes. We're going to have Wes come back with us. Take a quick break. We'll be right back with Wes and a few more other things right here on Photoshop User. We'll see you in a minute.
Okay, we're back, and the good news is that we're going to have Wes Maggio come in and share with us some great stuff. But before that, we've got some fun stuff happening with you. What's going on? That's right.
Actually, next week I'm kicking off my Down and Dirty Master Effects tour in New Orleans. I'm very excited. It's Wednesday to June 25th. This, just to give you a little preview, it's a cool little workbook we're going to have. Let me see how thick that is. Jam-packed with information. So I'm really excited about that. Next week in New Orleans, you can check more information at kelby1.com and go to the live events page, and it's right there. So I hope to see you there. So I'm really excited about it. So first day of the tour, come to New Orleans. We're going to have some crawfish in Photoshop.
New Orleans.
In Nolan style. There we go. All right. So, Wes, let's have Wes show us some cool tablet stuff. He was in here in the studio about a week and a half ago. We couldn't wait to have him on the show, so check it out. Hi, everyone. Corey Barker here, and today I am joined by Wes Maggio of Wacom Technologies. He is the senior evangelist for creative products for Wacom Technologies, and I got to tell you, I love their product. I use it every day. Wes, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks a lot, Corey. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here, and I've got some really cool stuff to show you, I think.
Excellent. And you actually brought a few things to talk about. And actually, if you haven't heard in the past where you've been in the past year, but they've recently introduced these fantastic new Cintiq. Look at this Cintiq product right here. Look at that. It is a tablet. It is everything, basically. It is a tablet. It is a computer. It's a PC. You've even got the keyboard and everything like that. And these are just great for when you're on the go. It's really mobile. It's basically a mobile workstation.
Exactly. Yep.
It's taking everything that you, as a designer, love. You like Photoshop. You like, being on the go. You want all your tablet technology. It's all built in right here. I have one of these myself, and I got to tell you, I love it. I enjoy it a lot. So, and actually, you got a little bit of a special running on these, right? No?
We do. So that's the Cintiq Companion, and it's available in a couple different flavors, Cintiq Companion and Companion Hybrid. So basically what you have here is all the functionality that you'd find in our Cintiq product line, but in a mobile version, basically an all-encompassing toolkit. The one that Corey's got on his desk right here is the Cintiq Companion. It is a Windows 8-based operating system, so you can run all of your full-featured applications like Photoshop, like Lightroom, and anything else right there on the tablet and take it on the go.
I love it, actually. It's a great thing. So be sure to check that out. It's over at their website. So while we got you here, Wes, thought we'd jump in and have a few tips that we want to share.
Absolutely. I can't show up and not show a tip. Tips for tablet users. So,
I'll get that.
Busting up the place here.
Yes, we get.
So tips for tablet users. Basically, if you've got a tablet, always wanted a tablet, thought about getting a tablet, something like that, I'm going to show you a couple tips on why it is that a tablet is really ideal and why it is that you consider using one in your workflow. So I'm going to be talking about tips, really just things that you do every day today and how they're enhanced through the use of a pressure-sensitive pen tablet. And by the way, pressure sensitivity, that's the key thing. That's the reason why you'd want to use a tablet in the first place. That it gives you a level of control that you simply can't get if you're just using a mouse.
Absolutely.
As you know.
I agree, yes.
So where do you use a tablet? When do you use a tablet? Well, you're going to use a tablet in Photoshop, in Lightroom. You can use it in any application. Where it really shines, though, is in those applications that are pressure sensitive. So, for example, Lightroom. I'm going to start off right here in Lightroom. In fact, this is actually a project that I worked on last week. This was a lacrosse portrait that I did for this young man. Kyle is his name. Great lacrosse player, up and coming. Keep an eye on him. He's going to be on the pro circuit someday. Anyways, I've got all my images in Lightroom, and I've kind of gone through them. I've done kind of some initial culling and got rid of the rejects and started identifying the ones that I wanted to work on. And that's really one of the great things about Lightroom. It really enables me to get through the images that I've shot quickly, and I can identify what it is that I want to actually work on. So I'm not wasting my time jumping into Photoshop and working on, all of these different key images or all these different images only to find out that it's not the right one. So as I'm going through the images, I find the one that I want to work on. This is actually the one right here. I'm going to show you the after. This is the after image after we enhanced it a little bit. What I did was I did some initial adjustments in Lightroom, and then for some of the heavy lifting, I jumped over to Photoshop, which is a common workflow for me. So let's go ahead and take a look at that actual image. So this is the image that I started with. And I jumped over to the develop module. Again, made some initial adjustments. And in my initial adjustments in Lightroom, they'll incorporate exposure, perhaps a little bit of contrast. In this case, the temperature looked okay. I'm just going to bump up the exposure just a little bit. Not too much, because I really want to maintain the detail in the sky. Sure. But I want to try to bring out a little bit more in the face. So I bumped up the exposure there a little bit. And I'm doing this globally. I could do it selectively with the adjustment brush, which is one of those pressure-sensitive tools. And in fact, let's quick do that. I'm just going to jump over here. I'm going to hit the K key on the keyboard. That's going to give you my adjustment brush. And I'm going to reset some of these initial adjustments that I made in a previous example. Let's go ahead and zoom in on the face, not quite that much. And let's see if I can get a little bit more real estate here. There we go. I'm going to adjust my brush size. I can adjust my brush size using either the bracket keys on my keyboard, or like all professional Wacom tablets, I can use the touch ring or touch strip to very quickly adjust that. And then I could just brush in a little bit of an exposure adjustment. Again, using pressure sensitivity. This is really subtle right here. Using my space bar and kind of panning down here. There we go. That looks pretty good. But again, I want to do a little bit more heavy lifting. I want to do a little bit more healing that I require. I guess some more control than I'm going to get from the healing brush within Photoshop. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and bring our panels back, and I'm going to right-click on the image, and I'm going to go ahead and edit in Photoshop CC. And that's going to take the image out of Lightroom. It's going to jump over to Photoshop, and once we make our adjustments, once I save it, it'll jump back over to Lightroom. But anyways, this is what I want to do. All right, so I'm going to go into full screen mode here. Let's look at the image itself. I added a little bit of an exposure adjustment to the face, added a little bit of fill light up into that helmet there. That looks pretty good. But what I want to do is I want to add a little bit more drama to the sky, and I also want to play with the exposure, I should say the lighting on this player on the side here. So let's go ahead and adjust the sky first. Now, one of the things I like to do in Lightroom, or I should say, one of the things that I really like about Lightroom is that clarity slider. Really enables me to get a lot of contrast. I don't necessarily have that in Photoshop, and I guess I could have done this in Lightroom, but I wouldn't have been able to do it as selectively as I'm going to do right here. Okay. So let's go ahead and duplicate the layer. I'm going to hit Command or Control J. I'm going to go up to Filter, and I'm going to come down here to Camera Raw Filter. Camera Raw Filter is going to enable me to basically, use Camera Raw's filter engine, or excuse me, use the filter engine in Camera Raw to adjust the clarity. Okay, so now that I've got it open there, I'm going to drag that clarity slider all the way up. Okay, so now I'm getting a little bit more drama in the sky right there. Obviously, it's kind of adding a little too much crunchiness to the player. I don't want that, but that's okay, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my pressure-sensitive pen and a layer mask to selectively apply it. So I'm going to click on the new layer mask icon down here in the lower portion of the layers panel. And I'm going to fill it with black. I'm going to hit Command or Control Delete. Now, right now, black is in the background, so by hitting Command or Control Delete, that's going to fill the layer mask with black, thus hiding it. Now, with my paintbrush selected, I'm going to go into my Brushes panel. You can find this in a couple different ways. I hit F5 on my keyboard. Here's my Brushes panel. I'm going to select really basic, soft, round brush. And I'm going to make sure that I've got Transfer turned on. Actually, if I tap on the word Transfer, it'll reveal some control settings right over here where it says pen pressure. Now you can do it there, but at the same time, you have these options up here on the option bar. And I always have this one checked. This is basically I like to call it a tablet control button. It enables me to enable pressure sensitivity to adjust the opacity of the brush. So
and that feature in the option bar is sticky, right? So once you turn that on, it stays on.
Correct.
So
yes, that's a very good point.
That is a gotcha I have gotten stuck with numerous times.
It can trip you up, yeah. If you're not paying attention to it. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I am adjusting the function of the touch ring on my tablet to get to brush size. And now with a quick swipe of my finger, actually I moved right past it. There's my brush size. So I can swipe my finger around the touch ring to adjust brush size. And let's get back out so we can see this full screen here. And I'm going to select, got my paintbrush selected. White is in the foreground. White is going to reveal the contents of that layer. And black is going to conceal it. So right now what I'm doing here is I'm basically revealing that, oops, I grabbed that right there. I'm revealing that clarity kind of adjustment that we created to add a little bit more drama to the sky. Let me toggle that before and after on and off. So that's fairly subtle right there. If we wanted to kind of increase that even more, I'm just going to hit Command or Control J. And then I'm going to change the blend mode from normal to multiply, and that's really going to boost it up. Yeah, and it's actually going to reveal basically the areas that I didn't paint because the contrast is so much. So I want to be a little bit careful there. So I'm going to fill that layer mask once again with black to conceal. Oops, not that one. Click on the layer mask there. I'm going to fill it with black, and in the same exact motion, what I'm going to do is paint once again only in the areas that I want to bring in a little bit more contrast. Now the key thing to remember, and it's not something you can necessarily see on your screen right there, but what I'm doing here is I'm adjusting the opacity of this brush based on how hard I'm physically pressing my pen to the tablet. So there we go, barely touching my pen to the tablet in some areas, pressing a little bit harder in others, and that's really revealing a really nice contrasty sort of image. One last thing, I'm going to hit Command Option Shift E or Control Alt Shift E. That's taking all of my visible layers, stamping them up to its own layer. And I'm going to change the blend mode from normal to screen. It's going to really boost up the exposure, make things really bright. Once again, I'm going to mask it out. Here's a little tip. If you click on the new layer mask icon while you're holding Option or Alt, it's going to automatically fill it with black. And now I'm simply going to paint with white. Let's go ahead and zoom in on the face. Barely touching my pen to the tablet, add a little bit more fill, and a little bit down here on the player himself where we boosted that contrast, make him pop off the background a little bit more. Drama, exactly. So I did something very simple here. I used a paintbrush, obviously. We used a paintbrush on a layer mask. It might look a little bit complex over here. I did it a couple of times, but the technique was the same with every single layer. Pressure sensitive pen, using a paintbrush on a layer mask to selectively reveal or conceal what's going on.
And every bit of it non-destructive. All you've done is everything on the layer mask itself. Now, after that tip, I have one big question. There really is a lacrosse professional league?
There is. There's a major league lacrosse, yes.
I did not.
MLL.
I learned something today. That was awesome. Great. Really cool workflow. Not only if you noticed, but this is one thing I love about the tablet. When I'm working, is that when you notice when he was touching the touch ring, the little heads-up display came up on screen showing you exactly what that function was. That is a very cool feature that I like, because oftentimes you don't remember what certain features were programmed as. So it gives you that little heads-up display, it shows you exactly what it's programmed for, so that's a great little addition to the tablet, including many other things. Before we wrap up, there's a great little campaign you guys got going over on your community page on your website. You've got this 90-day tip thing happening. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I just basically showed you here today was kind of exposure adjustment. You know, that's just a little tip that you can learn on Wacom's community website. But we're actually running a campaign right now called 90 Tips in 90 Days. And as its name might suggest, we're giving you a tip every day for the probably past 2 months already. We're actually going to be wrapping it up towards the end of June. But 90 tips in 90 days. You can find out how to remove your X from a photo, how to add a little bit more drama to an image, all sorts of different random tips and techniques for getting the most out of your favorite creative applications, but also just simply accomplishing common tasks and things that you want to do with your tablet.
It's a lot of great stuff. It's really great tips, especially if you're new to a tablet. You want to get in there and really see what you can do with it. So, and that address is, what is that?
You can go to community.wacom.com, or you can go to wacom.com and find the community tab. But you can go very directly there, community.wacom.com.
Very, very cool. Well, all right. Well, Wes, thank you for joining us and stopping by today. We understand you're going to be doing some more things.
You know, I'm stopping by. I'm doing all sorts of things while I'm here at the Kelby One Studios. So
good stuff. And of course, you can see Wes at Photoshop World. He is one of the guys that's at the Wacom booth at the expo. They've got all their products on display. You can actually interact with them, play around with them, ask all the questions they have. A lot of great stuff there, so be sure to check that out. So back to you guys in the studio here on Photoshop User TV. All right, we are back, and that was really thank Wes for coming down and sharing some cool tips with us. He's also recorded a class while he was here, so be sure to check out Kelby 1 in the very near future and check out Wes's new stuff. All right, moving right along, we have some typical things to do here on Photoshop User TV. We, of course, have a Peach Pit ebook deal. What do we have?
Yep, we got to thank Peach Pit once again for giving us a great e-deal. This is the iPad for photographers, and it's called Mastering the Newest Tool in Your Camera Bag. And it's got some really neat things about how you can use your iPad to help with your photography, things that you might not think about. You just simply need to go to peachpit.com/Kelby1. Check it out. There's a e-deal there, and make sure you use the coupon code Kelby1 to get your discount off of this great book right here. It's the digital version of the iPad for photographers, so make sure you check it out, peachpit.com.
Very nice. And we, of course, have a giveaway this time around. We got another book. This is called The Last Layer: New Methods in Digital Printing for Photography, Fine Art, and Mixed Media. This is actually a very interesting book. Look at that, it has Russell Brown on the cover. If you don't know who Russell is, he is the creative director at Adobe. So, very funny guy. But anyway, it's a great book. It actually has a lot of really interesting things on using like practical techniques, like building things like painting and then taking pictures of it and then bringing it into the Photoshop. So a lot of really interesting stuff, really creative ideas in this book. So go to the contest page, which is kelby1.com/contest. Enter your name and the show. Make sure you select the right show and enter your name, and you will be eligible to win this very creative book. So cool stuff. So I believe that may wrap it up.
Don't forget, we need to talk about the most
big
important
event.
thing happening in the world.
We are getting so close, yes. Photoshop World, coming up in Las Vegas here on September 3rd.
3rd through the 5th.
3rd through the 5th, that is correct. So.
We love Photoshop World, and let's face it, we all went to Photoshop World before we were ever on staff.
I attended a good 6 or 7 of them before I was actually an instructor, and since then it's just been the same ride ever since.
Yeah, and it's so good for inspiration, for teaching, for everything that you hopefully would be interested in. So make sure you check it out at photoshopworld.com. Check it out, see all the instructors, what we have to offer. If you haven't been, you need to get a taste for it, and hopefully you'll come back again and again.
And of course, Pete and I will be there, and of course Scott, Matt, and all the rest of the guys, and a whole list of some of the best instructors in photography and Photoshop all over the world. So we'll be there in Las Vegas, September 3rd. Hope to see you there. So that wraps it up again this week for Photoshop User. Thanks, Pete.
Yep.
I have to see more Alaska stuff, hopefully soon. We'll see you guys next week right here on Photoshop User. Until then, bye-bye.